Hello, YouTube. So, last week we did this. This is the first glow. This is the second glow. There's two more, but obviously this is her like further into her adventuring, you know, her life. So she's got more armored. She has picked up a knife, you know. And I think, so this one was interesting to talk about, like, how I established lights and shadows and sort of did some skin and the cloth and the lantern, right? This one's going to be more about, like, how do we take something that has a very, like, kind of boring color palette. There's not, other than like her hair being pink, you know, there's not a whole lot of color going on her. It's mostly going to be like browns and whites. So how can we make this figure interesting and not lose like definition between elements when you're dealing with basically like all different shades of like browns and tans, right? So really the only colors are on her are going to be like the white of her cloak, right? Then you've got like the brown of her tunic, right? Then you've got these like little leather straps and things. So how can we make something interesting and defined, but not like overdo the value contrast to the point where things just start to like blur together? Okay. Just curious, is there any white you prefer while doing Zenithal priming? This is actually not white. This is Vallejo gray primer, and it's quite light, but you can see that it's not white, right? So that's what I use. Okay, so let's think about like some color, okay? So when we use these browns, we're going to have to make sure some of these elements are separated, right? Things like her sash and things will easily get lost in the design of the figure, right? So we need to make sure that we keep some of these elements separated, okay? And if we have more than one brown, how do we use different shades of brown in order to create further separation between them? So what I'm thinking for the actual tunic, right, is to do like a dark brown that tends more towards like a grayish red brown, right? And then something, maybe even like red brown, so it's like going to shift slightly, maybe even slightly purplish in tone. And then something more yellow brown for other elements like the sash and maybe gauntlets and things. And then she has all these like little straps on her. Then we got to figure out the fur, right? And then she has her hood. Well, the hood is her hood is special. Okay, so her hood is gonna be this like cold white like we did on this one, because it's supposed to, she's wearing the same hood throughout all four versions of her, but she changes her actual armor. So it's like her special item that she has, you know. Okay, so I've grabbed some colors, right? I've got a dark brown, signature. She's got her signature look. Okay. This dark charred brown. I'm going to use the same colors in the skin as I used last week, if I remember them correctly, but because I want to maintain that look. Normally I would just pick kind of random colors to do the skin, but I would like some visual consistency between the different characters. Am I going to have the hood kind of beat up? Probably not too much. Like, You can see she has like a little bit of tattering on it, but I don't think I'm going to go with like a heavy weathering on it or anything. It's clearly special to her, so she probably tries to take care of it as best as possible. I'm going to grab some of this ground brown from Mr. Pisarski. You can see it's quite grayish in tone, but it has this slight like lavender sort of coloration to it, especially when you compare it to something like this that is clearly like way more yellow, right? So I'll use something like this. No Patreon. If you want to support, just sub. Give a sub. All the content, unless it's, you know, for a specific company or something, all the tutorials are free. Any plans on teaching a class in Canada? There is no hard dates yet. There are tentative plans to teach in the Great White North. Just nothing hard yet. Nothing in stone. All right, so I'm going to take this brown and we're going to start to just like base coat some of her outfit here. I'm going to grab a bigger brush. This is too small. Something with a little more oomph to it. Well, Canada's a pretty big country. Well, it kind of depends on where in Canada you are. Okay, so what I'm doing, instead of just like jumping right into light and shadow and everything, right? Instead, we're going about it slightly differently this time, right? Now what we're doing is we're really thinking about like the value of the base coat, okay? And how that value is going to affect like the readability of the rest of the model, right? I'm thinking about Montreal. I'll teach all in French, though. I'm not going to teach in French. I don't know French. Yeah, I know. I got my. It's all right. My roommate will jump on the sale. I'll yell at him from the room. Guys, let me know if the sale goes live. I'll just go bang on his door. Now, probably in the next hour, Forrest. Mr. Flamingo paints. Evening. Hello. Good evening. Poots, where's my figures? I need my figures, bro. Give me that plastic. What do we think? Badar? Is Badar gonna be released in as an indomitable survivor today? Is that what we're guessing? I'm not quite sure what's going on here, so I'm just going to cover it. Curious if you were part of the Chimera Velvet Inks. What do you mean part of it? Like part of the development? Yeah, I left a comment on their Instagram post. Is that one of the new Artis Opus egg handles? It sure is. This is a special one of a kind one, though. This is a prototype. They don't come with this special etching. I'm one of the only people in the world who's got this guy. Egg is good. I like my egg. It's very comfortable. It's a nice weight for me. Now, she has something going on with her wrists. You can see that there's, well, let me get the camera shake to stop. So what I'm going to do, normally I would, I'm going to use it like a wash to just go over, and hopefully some of this wash will leave parts like a bit more obvious where those like little tiny wristbands are. But eventually we have to paint those wristbands like on top. Okay, so there you can see like it causes them, the ones that are like up higher, to stick out a little bit, because those will eventually be like the more yellowish leather. Okay. Yeah, we're done with patterns for right now. No more patterns at the moment. Just a nice, relaxing gaming figure. Hi, skis. Sometimes you have to take a little break, you know? Sometimes it's nice to just knock out some little guys. Because believe it or not, I still play board games. Okay, so, right, so that gives us some separation already, right? You can see like this nice dark brown is going to help separate some of these elements more. Okay. Chicken dog. What's up, chicken dog? Chicken dog. You know who I hope comes out? Actually, I want this guy as an Indomitable as soon as possible. This guy is one of my favorites. I forget his name. What is it? What is his name? Let's look at him real quick. What is his name? I don't remember. He's Gus Knives Grimmery's brother, but I like the art for him a lot. I like this figure a lot. Repocratus. Yeah, he's cool. I think he's one of the really, really cool designs that they've done for characters. Well, thank you, chicken dog. Speaking of painting Space Marine faces, I will be in Dallas next month teaching some painting classes at the Warhammer US Open. If anyone is interested in taking one of those classes, there's a link to sign up. You get a bunch of paints, you get some brushes, like the nice artificer brushes. So you get like, and I forget how many paints it is per class, but you end up getting like $100 worth of stuff just like signing up to the class, besides, actually taking the class. So, hey, that's kind of cool, I guess. Okay, now we're going to do some of the skin. Let's just get some color done. I'm going to go right over these little line things. I will handle those later. Right now, I just want to get a base coat on her skin. Can you buy a bundle? No. And besides me, Dan Osborne will also be teaching classes, and so will Mr. Steve Garcia. All right, let's... All right, so you can see now that I have this like kind of intermediate tone, the white's going to start to stand out more, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just cover this, which is different to how I did her last week. So this is a bit of a different approach. sometimes when the figure is really, really detailed, like the areas are so small, I sometimes will do it this way instead of like the sketching method, just so that I find it a little maybe easier to build up to the light this way. Just get a good base coat down on everything and then build the light. But I am keeping in my mind, like, I could also refer back to the photo, but in my mind I know like where the light of the Zenithal was. So you might ask like, well, why did you bother Zenithal priming it? Well, one, it makes coverage easier for these more intense colors, right? It would be much more difficult to paint this skin tone over top of a pure black. You can see just by how kind of muddy it looks on the bottom. Right. But also it gives me like a mental image of where I need to put the lights. So I know her back of her hand, you know, is going to be a bit darker. Okay. And then here. Who's that? Creighton XY. Hello. Thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. War Judge, hello. Thanks for following. Flibidding, hi. How are you? Okay, so, right, so we're starting to build up. There's like, here we can go. We can always do this, right? All right, we're starting to create value separation between the different elements, okay? So because the figure is complex, we really want to make sure that we have like clear delineation between the elements, and we can't really, like I said, we can't really utilize color as much because she's mostly just brown. Vanish Squared. Thanks for the prime. Like for the 2 months. Speaking of prime subs, if you are a sub, you get access to the Feedback Friday channel on the Discord. So if you would like feedback on one of your figures, you can use your Prime sub. It's free if you're already paying for Amazon Prime, and get access to the channel and get some feedback on your figure on Feedback Friday, which we do every other Friday. How's that? Am I getting better at this? Am I getting better at the plugs and the promotions, huh? Such a professional. Doesn't help when you call it out, though. It's like being like, how was that? How good was that segue? Okay, so now we save that one for the end, Bilbo. But without further ado, here's a message from our sponsor, NordVPN. This stream is not sponsored by NordVPN. Hey, Eric, do you have a white ivory ice yellow that you particularly like? I'm trying to find ones that aren't as chalky. I mean, I use Vallejo Model Color Ivory. Ice yellow, I don't use ice yellow a ton. I like Toxic Yellow, the new Vallejo Model Color one. I use quite a bit. And I like other light colors I use a lot is there's a Glacier Blue. Where is it? I haven't used it recently because I haven't done any like cold lights. But for cold lights, I really like this Glacier Blue. So ivory, livery yellow, or whatever this is called, toxic yellow. I can like mix it with some ivory if I need to lighten it even further. I also mix it sometimes with the Glacier Blue to like cool it off some more. You can get some interesting colors that way. Now, I'm trying to look, let's use the camera to look at what the heck's going on with her neck. It looks like it's mostly fur in there, but there might be something going on. I think she might have her like necklace on. I'm just going to take some of this and darken it down a little bit with the brown and just kind of like put like a neck shadow in there. And if I need to, I can cover with the fur later. All right. Let's do the thing we did before with the gauntlets on the boots. Kind of thin this out. No, there's like a strap that goes across her foot. That's going to be that more yellowish leather that we use. But just getting a dark color on her feet, because we want most of the light to be focused more up top anyways. The general values of things are going to be lighter as we go up the figure. Right, that's going to create more interest towards the top. This is a good trick if you're trying to develop color schemes for your figures. You can often make the legs like a darker material than like the materials more around like the face and torso. So kind of classic character design here of giving like all this white, right? You got all this like white fur around her face, and the white hood is going to draw more attention upwards, you know? I'm probably going to develop a class for this at some point, but I think as terms of a general, like, understanding, I think there's a bit of lack of understanding on how, like, when people develop color schemes, they often think about just the color itself and tend to not think about, like, the value, right? Like, I could say, like, oh, I'm going to develop a color scheme, and this element's going to be blue, and this element's going to be red. But it doesn't tell me, like, what shade of blue that is, right? It doesn't tell me, like, is it like, going to be a light blue, a dark blue, right? And a color scheme that's baby blue and red, like, bright red, is way different than a color scheme that's navy blue and bright red, right? So... there's so much that you can do with just value. To make your figures more interesting. And more readable, and that's really the goal here. Readability, you guys. Are you thinking about the readability of your figures? Or are you just trying to make everything contrasted? Right? Just value contrast everywhere. I can tell you that the brightest highlight on the dark leather on her is going to be darker than the lightest highlight. No, hold on. Let me rephrase this. The deepest shadow on the fur and the cloak will be lighter than the brightest highlight on the dark leather. There, that makes sense. That made sense. Hi, Dan Connors. Hello. The deepest shadow of the white elements will be lighter value than the brightest highlight of the brown elements, right? So what am I going to use for a shadow on the white fur? Well, I need to distinguish it somehow from the cloak, which is going to be this like blue, this kind of blue-green cool shadow, because I want it to read different. So for the shadows of the fur, right, I might go with something like this and then go up to white. And maybe I'll mix it with a little of this brown. All right, so maybe I'll grab a little bit of this guy, mix these two together. Now this could be my shadow color for the fur, and then I'll go up to a white. But this is brighter than anything I would use on the brown parts, right? It's often that I see people try and like overdo the amount of contrast on any individual element. So they try and like, well, I've got to make the shadows on this white fur like almost black, and it doesn't make any sense, right? So this will totally work as a shadow tone for the white fur, right? If I left these pure black, like it's just too dark. There's no need to go that dark on a light element. Does that make sense? And it's clearly like this looks dark because this is white, right? So it's like this will read as a shadow for that. Yes, no, maybe. Yeah. Getting paint on myself. Whatever. It happens. No, you're not stupid. This is a legitimate question. I'm not drinking the paint water. No drinking the paint water. I only drink my medicine. See, so like even though this is a dark color and I'm going to add a lot more light to this, it reads like the lightest thing other than the hood, right? The hood and her hair, right? It reads as the lightest thing on the figure at the moment. Yeah. She's gonna have pink hair. She's the same character. I want the visual because the consistency between them. It's supposed to be like as she grows up. She's getting that EXP, hunting those bigger monsters, you know? She's got her tier 1 armor now. Before she had just her starting gear. She had nothing, you know? Swinging a rock around. Now she's got her tier 1. Put it in video game terms. You make it seem so simple? Well, that's hopefully the goal. Conceptually, these things are not that difficult. So you just add ivory to put highlights on the fur after the base coat. Yeah, basically. And the darkest fur will be the areas with the base coat untouched by the highlights. Yep, exactly. Exactly that. And for the base, you should use a little bit less value than the legs. Yeah, so the base is going to be the same here as here. It's like these go to like basically black, right? So the base is quite dark. It's essentially like the lantern. The lantern's a little shinier than the stones are, but yeah, it's like a dark rocky kind of color, right? Hey, you're welcome. That's what I'm here for. I want you guys to ask questions. I like when you ask questions because as much as I can try and as best as I can try and explain it, I know my explanations are not going to necessarily work for everyone. So I'm always happy to rephrase. Okay, so never feel bad about asking questions. Also, not everyone in the chat is a native English speaker. So if there's a word or concept or phrase that I use, I tend to use some art terms from time to time. If there's one you don't know, ask. See? So, no, there's no embarrassment here. So what do we got? We got basically, we haven't done like the yellow sash. Let's put the yellow sash on her right quick just to see, like, I say yellow, but it's a brown, right? It's just a brown that tends way more towards yellow. Might want to add just a touch of this in order to give it a little bit more coverage. Right, so now this is going to function as like a middle value. So maybe something slightly darker than the skin, but definitely lighter than the brown, right? And that's the same color that we'll use for all these little straps and things that I don't feel like painting right now because they're very tiny. Just want to get the point across. All right, so you can switch. All right, to black and white. You can see that it's like a middle value now. It's a little darker than the skin, okay, but it's clearly lighter than the dark brown, okay. And what she needs now is her hair color. That big bee. All the carpenter bees are watching me paint outside, hanging out on the window. So she has like this magenta hair. Beehive building? I don't think carpenter bees have like a hive, do they? They don't build like the same kind of hive as like a honeybee does, right? I'm no bee expert though, so you know. No. We had the house wrapped. They were trying at one point when we first moved in. They were definitely like trying to burrow into the wood. Now they just like smack against the, whatever you call that stuff that the, like there's like the metal, they put like metal that looks like wood around the trim of the house. So now the bees just like just smack into it all the time. Sometimes they hit the window so dang hard, it's like sounds like somebody's trying to throw pebbles at my window. LaSalle Brute. Hi, welcome. Thanks for the resub. Okay, so hair. Her pinky magenta hair. I don't want to use the pure magenta, it's a little too much for the color of her hair, so I'm going to add a little bit of this pink into it just to get sort of the color I want. I have a question, but it might be a silly one. Again, no silly questions. Well, let me read it first. Do you choose skin color depending on the gender, age, or neither? For example, I associate pinkish skin tones with young women. I mean, you can. Yeah, that's definitely... Most of the time, I consider it more like the type of character it is, right? And probably like more the ethnicity of the character. But I will often try and vary, even if it's like I'm just painting, so let's say I'm painting a bunch of Kingdom Death characters. I might make one guy's skin like slightly more brownish, one more pale, right? So I'm just trying to like vary it up so they don't all look the same. No two people's skin tone, even if you're painting a bunch of Caucasian people, right? No two people's skin tone is the same. My skin is much more pinkish, reddish, right? Like I tend to have a more pinkish because I'm really pale, right? I do not tan. So my skin is less brown, right? Not what you would call olive skin toned. So I try and just vary it up. But her having pink hair and she's supposed to be like sort of innocent sort of character, maybe like, and it sort of matches her pinkish hair, right? And it's less brown, okay? But if I was doing like a samurai character Kingdom Death model, maybe I would consider doing it like what you would call like slightly more yellow, right? Like a little more of on the Asian skin tone side. Right? Less pink, more towards like orangish tones. Where this guy I showed you earlier, like look at his skin tone. He's supposed to be all dark and moody looking, right? So maybe for him I would do something more along the lines of like this sort of grayish skin tone, right? He has like very pale, desaturated skin. These characters remind me of someone, him and Grimm. Grimm has this very I don't know, kind of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure design to him, I feel like. I don't know what character from it is, but... Hi, Mose. But yeah, that's sort of what I mean with like, just vary it up. But I'm not making like, there's no like deep decision making when just doing these gaming figures over like, oh, what is she a lady so she needs to have more pinky skin tone? No, not really. She's a Barbie girl in a Barbie world, trying not to die to lions and antelopes and knights that roll around giant poop balls. Who is the Ken of Kingdom Death then? There's actually there is a pair of characters called Inti and Macy. Like the intimacy couple, and their canon names are Inti and Macy. I love a weird baby-faced angler fish elephant monster. So good. Dude, my naming of my characters is dumb. In Kingdom Death, our character, you have to name so many characters by the time you're like getting late into the game. We will name our characters the dumbest things. We had one character named Rerolla in our last campaign because all she was good for was a reroll. And we tried so hard to get her killed. She would go on anytime an event came up with that was like, oh, roll a dice, and we're like, we don't really need this, but why not? Rerolla was rolling it, and she just couldn't die. It was like, oh, go do this event, you might die from it. Nah, she's living. One of our settlements was called Guy Fieri's Dive and Taco Joint. That was the name of our settlement. We take character naming very seriously. Sometimes I used to think you should leave names for D&D NPCs at a traveling merchant. Carmine Laguzio? I don't understand the reference if that's from something. I love a good dumb character name though in any of these games. They make me laugh. Oh, okay. What other What other dumb ones did we... I'm trying to remember if we had any other really stupid character names. I know that this is a basic question, but how do you load your brush? It seems when I want to do detail that all my brush is in the belly and doesn't flow well through the tip, even when it is thinned down to more... Okay, so first, what you're not seeing is there's a... The thing you guys can't see is the water cup, okay, and the paper towel. So... let's take the brush. Let's take a brush, okay? Rinse. Give it a good rinse, right? Now there's a ton of water in it. Look how much water is in it. See that? Can't have that. So, boop, wipe quite a bit of it off on the paper towel. So it's damp, but it's not like bone dry. And then I grab some from the palette. I don't dunk the brush in here, so I'm not like pre-thinning my paint or anything. I dunk it in, but you can look and see like this is a giant glob, so unless you're doing like base coats or something, that's going to be too much. So this is why I often do this, where I check, like I make a new little section on the palette, and you can see now that it is much more just on the tip of the brush, and then it flows nicely off the end without like pooling everywhere, right? So the dampness, the water that's in the brush helps the paint flow off into the brush. So you want to, so again, we can rinse it. You can see there's way too much water. So we want to get like most of the water off, but not too much, right? And now if I want to thin it even more, I can add a little, I can leave a little bit more water, right? Okay. Now I can pull from this one, but what's that going to do? It's going to thin it out even more, right? When I pull from this little thinner palette or this little thinner well that I made right here, right? So now we're getting closer to a glaze consistency, but you can see that the paint's not like flowing into the back of the brush, right? So now we have something like a glaze without, but it still flows nicely, okay? Oh, that makes sense. And if you guys want the game changer, you got to get the blue paper towels. I'm telling you, I should have an Amazon affiliate link for paper towels, so you can buy a case of them once for like $10 and never have to buy another set again. Because this is like my first roll. And I have like a case of 10 of them downstairs. But the blue paper towels are where it's at. Shop towels, baby. They don't lint like regular paper towels. So you don't get little annoying paper towel fibers all up in your, all up on your model, okay? Okay, so we've kind of got base coats on things, right? I haven't base coated the hood yet. I need to do that, but you saw me paint the hood last week, okay? So I will eventually do it, but you can see now, like, if we go to the black and white again, all right, you can see that there's like a difference in values here, okay? So even without, you know, adding, like highlights and stuff to it, that we have like clear value separation. So now I have to like bump each one of these up individually. Okay, so I will add more light to each one kind of equally, right? And then it'll maintain, I will have lights and shadow and form, but it will maintain the value contrast between elements, okay? If I was to highlight this brown all the way up to white, then it would lose the value contrast with the other elements, right? All right. I'm going to take a quick break. I will be back in a few minutes, and then we will start working on some other parts. Be right back. Hello, I'm back. Well, hi. How's everyone doing? Good? Okay, let's start adding some light, okay? So we're going to do two at a time. I need my glasses because she's so small. Probably not for the skin, but you know. So I'm going to start to mix a lighter skin tone here. Hey guys, this is basically all I need on my palette, other than like a white when I get to that. I'm going to mix a lighter skin tone here from what I've got, right? So I'm just going to start to block in the lights of her skin. Okay? Oh wait, that's she's got like a bandages thing. Yep, this is why. Need the glasses. She has bandages wrapped around her knees. Whoops. Whoopsie. That's fine. Okay. Her back of her hand faces towards the light. I don't need to detail her her knuckles and stuff right now. I just want to get the simple shapes in. Okay, how about here? Top of her hand, right? Start to paint in the light on her face. Probably too big of a brush to do her face. Not too big of a brush, but it's an older one. It's a little janky. I have a tendency to hold on to brushes for a while, even though I could just grab a new one, but for things like base coating and stuff, you know, it's fine. Okay. All right, so I'm just blocking in the light here. What's my favorite brush? The brush I probably use the most is this one right here. A size 3 from Artist Opus. This is an old one. Let's see how it's still doing. For me, it's like a good generalist brush. Right? So start to give some shape to the legs here. It's not really so much about the size, unless you're trying to like get into areas, you know, like inside areas. A lot of times the size is more about like how the point is. But one of the reasons I like these guys is because they do like flatten out if you use them like this. So you can get like some bigger brush strokes this way, but if you use them this way, right, you can get they're thinner, right? So, okay, so you can see just that's like four colors right there, or 4 steps in value. We start to get to the light, right? I need to go higher than that. I need to go to like a highlight, but you can see it's pretty similar there. It still needs the highlights. And now for the brown, I'm going to take the brown, this dark brown. Okay, I'm going to add some of this ground brown. It's going to create this sort of grayish brown tone, which will work as my, ooh, that's a lot of water. First light here on the other brown parts. I'm not too worried about hitting things like the hair and stuff right now. I have to redo the hair. I just wanted to establish the values at the beginning so you guys could see the difference. I think it's a general good recommendation to kind of get rid of the primer just so you can see the values together. As you become more experienced, you can paint a little more individually without having to worry so much. But that is once you get to that point, right? When you start to become really comfortable seeing the values and everything. Right, Steve? Okay, we're not making a big jump right now, just trying to get like a rough area of the light in. A little bit better coverage on some of these parts. Yeah, I do. That's kind of all painting is about, Richard. Yeah. Sort of all there is to it, you know. It's just painting values and shapes. Isotonical? I don't know. I did my best. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Okay. So let's do a little more of her hood, all right? Hey man, you got a YouTube channel also? I sure do. You can check out all the past, well, not all of them. Most of the past streams, some of the really early ones I didn't upload to YouTube, but all the other ones are up there. Okay, so now we're going to add a little more light. You guys think I have a chat bot? Like, come on, dude. I just joked about not being a very professional streamer. I could spend time painting chatbot or adding chatbots to the stream, or I could spend time painting squares. Okay? You know? Which one's it going to be? Squares or chatbots? Well, thanks, I saw. Oh, you guys didn't know I hid a QR code in his jacket? Well, welcome to the stream, Isa. Maybe I am Crazy Mouse. Maybe I already am. Did you ever think about that? So here we are pushing the light a little bit more. Also trying to like start to define some of the edges and folds here. I don't want to go too crazy, but I want to get some definition in, right? Not going for like heavy metal style, but I want to start to get some shape in. Some of that edge definition. Again, I'm looking for the readability of everything. Okay. Smash that bell. Evening, good morning. We got an Australian in the chat. An Aussie. Aussie. Oi. Don't you guys legally have to type oi when I say that? Okay, so you can see here, I'm just trying to define these folds, right? And it doesn't need much more than this. You can already see like there's already some pretty good contrast and definition. I might push it just a tiny bit more, like maybe one more little highlight, but I don't need a whole lot. This is where I think people make the mistake, because they think that they have to like keep going until they get to like, you know, until they start using this. I'm doing this just as a demonstration. Don't do this. Okay? But they think they got to get like the highlight up to there, right? And that looks crazy. Like, you don't have to do that. You feel called out, Richard? Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should feel called out. But you're definitely not the only one. It's actually what I would consider like one of the most common pitfalls in miniature painting. Specifically because this like idea of like, oh, you got to use more contrast is like pushed so much. But people forget about creating contrast between elements. RJ Warren, thanks for the Prime. Appreciate it. Welcome to the school of Eric Swinson, where we are not accredited and you can't get an employee student discount on Photoshop. Okay. So look how crazy this looks now, right? It's like way too bright. And we're gonna take it back down a notch. We're gonna knock it back down. But you can see like maybe that works okay. Like you can see a little bit of that showing through. So I might put like one more little light, but I also think I need to blend some of these elements a little more. Okay, so I can take some of the original brown as like closer to a glaze and start to blend these together. right? It's nice and fluid, watery. Okay, so it's thinned, so I can start to layer some of these shadows back on top, or I'm going to start to blend it together. And then I can always push the light some more where I need. Flap shop, yeah, that one. That sentence just made like absolutely no sense. We're just making up terms now. Look, the rant was last week. All right, we're calmer this week. I'm done painting a jacket. My mental state is much more calm at the moment. I'm not going on any rants today. Okay? No. No, that I'm definitely not going on a rant about. Thank you, Brutal Burrito. And I'm glad the last one was fun, but we're good. You know, it's this week's a little more chill, okay? Hello, what paints and what palette are you using? I am using a red grass wet palette with the reusable membrane. And I'm using just a mix of Vallejo and Chimera paints. All right, so here's how when we can start to introduce a little more. We're gonna have a little more fun. We're gonna get a smaller brush, okay? Something really tiny and pointy. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna introduce some texture. We need it to be nice and fluid. Fluid, but not thin like a wash, right? We want it to be flowing well. Now we can kind of start to introduce a little like texture here to the leather. Okay, so we can use some little dots and things. Don't make me do it, Richard. I will do it. You know I will. Colin Barnes, evening here. Just wondering, do you ever use wet blending in your work? No, not really. And no, Richard, you're not the only person who's ever been timed out. I think Sean also got timed out once for trying to make a ton of jokes. It was like, this is just distracting. It was like, oh, let me read these questions. Oh, never mind. It's just another bad joke. I wanted to ask, are there moments where you add actual texture where I add actual texture. Do you mean like literally like impasto painting? Like texture paint? Something with like grit in it? Only on bases really. Never actually like on the figure. I much rather simulate the texture with paint, and even on bases I don't do it a ton. Gonna connect those like that. So now we're getting some definition, right? And it's looking contrasting, and it's got highlights and everything, but it's not. But if we look, right, this is what I'm highlighting with. Okay, this is darker than the color I used for the shadows of the fur. Okay, right. If I put it on the fur, it's slightly darker than the color that I started with, right? The thing I really see a lot is people just like what's it called? Like edge highlighting everything white, like the maximum value, and it just looks weird. That more fur? No. Maybe? I think that might actually be a piece of fur. Can be hard to see what some of these really tiny details are, but I think that's actually a small bit of fur right there. Okay, so, right. Oh, she has a little loopy thing. Okay. Man, there's some spots I missed. What is your favorite 2 a.m. drunk food? I don't have 2 a.m. drunk food. I'm not a big drinker, but my 2 a.m. Actually, typically a lot of nights I'll go out and just get a Wawa sandwich because I am a bit of a night owl, so I enjoy my Wawa. If you guys don't know what Wawa is, you're missing out. What's a Wawa? Chicago people. You guys just don't know. It's a gas station that has like an actual deli in it. It's like a Sheetz, I guess, or yeah. Like a Sheetz or a Buc-ee's, I guess. Maybe a Casey's, but Casey's is not as good as Wawa. Casey's isn't even on the same, nearly on the same level. Yeah, Wawa is like a full service deli, all 24 hours a day. That was one of the weirdest things for me, like getting used to that, going to like staying in Europe for a while, is like I'm so used to things being open 24/7. In the US, like, you know, convenience stores and 7-Elevens and things like that. So in Europe, like some of the convenience stores don't open until like 9 a.m. Alta Barbie, hello, welcome. So you're like, oh, cool. So you're like, oh, it's midnight and I ran out of cigarettes. Well, you better hope a bar's still open with one of the vending machines. Or maybe you can find a gas station that's open. Hello. Bienvenue. One of the places I was in, like Santander in the north of Spain, it was like, oh, I want some Red Bulls. I'll go to the grocery store that's across the street from the hotel. The grocery store was closed on Sunday. I was like, oh, uh-oh. Here in the UK. Yeah, I noticed that in the UK too. I was like, come on, Tesco. Of all places, I would think just Tesco, like Tesco Express or whatever it's called. The like little ones. Those are the kind of places that I would just expect to be like always open. They seem to have pretty long hours though. $2,200, so 10 p.m. Yeah, that's a lot of grocery stores around here close at 11. So they open at like 6 a.m. and close at 11, and really people are there most of the night because that's when like the night shift comes in and does a lot of shelf stocking and stuff. Wolfenholm and Death by Fugu. Hi, welcome. Thanks for following. Also, Ultbarb, thanks for the raid again. What were you doing? What were you what kind of stuff were you streaming? Ultabarb? Is it Ultabarb or I don't know how to pronounce that. was good. I painted a bust of an elf with a beer mug. Cool. Poster on the second one. Is it French? Is it French? All the better. No, man, I don't stand outside. I go home. I go home and I watch an episode of television. That's my late night ritual. Is after this stream at like, I'll get it editing and start uploading. Vive la France. Vive la France. Yeah, after I get the stream exporting and uploading to YouTube, go have myself a little snack and I'll watch an episode of TV. Right now I've been watching Andor. I started watching Andor because I have nothing else to watch, even though I hate Star Wars. And this is not a rant. I'm not going to go on a how Star Wars sucks rant right now. But everybody was like, dude, Andor's actually good. So I was like, all right, fine. When the second season came out, I was like, I'll watch the first season. I watched Daredevil. I watched Invincible. I've also been watching Gundam G-Quacks. I'm not a big anime guy, to be honest. There are some that I like Gundam. No, I watched the first season of Wheel of Time and it was the worst. Dude, it was so bad. I'm sorry. It was terrible. And even if it's gotten better, like, I'm not doing it. No, you didn't miss any talk. I just said I started watching Andor. I don't want to talk. I said I wasn't going to go on any rants, so I don't want to talk about Star Wars. Okay? Just know, I will say this. Empire Strikes Back is one of my favorite movies ever made. I love the original Star Wars. And I don't think that 90% of the recent Star Wars has been good. I would argue it has been quite the opposite. Is that Boomer? Now see, Binford, I'm glad you're enjoying Andor, or you enjoyed Andor, and you liked Rogue One. I really disliked Rogue One. Hello, Dem. This might be a hot take, but I think Rogue One was not very good. It was just better than the even worse stuff that we had gotten. The best of the worst. more like bore one? That doesn't even rhyme. Jude Law is fun in it, but yeah, if you don't want 80s kid adventure, it's not going to be your cup of tea. Oh, this Skeleton Crew? Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I didn't watch The Acolyte. I watched Ahsoka, and that wasn't very good. I mean, Ray Stevenson was good, but the actual show was not very good. What other one? Boba Fett was terrible. Obi-Wan was bad. Obi-Wan was really bad. Poor Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan can be summed up as that scene where they come to the checkpoint and he shoots the laser field to go through the gate instead of just walking around. That's how I sum up Obi-Wan. Just that one clip. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, Mando season 3 wasn't very good. Dude, people were freaking out about The Force Awakens, and I felt like I was going crazy by being like, guys, it's just the same movie again. They just remade Star Wars. I was like, am I taking crazy pills here? Was it? Yeah, but oh my god. The problem was with 8. Yeah, the problem with 8 was that, like, I actually like Ryan Johnson because he did, what is that? He did Knives Out and Glass Onion, or not Glass Onion. Yeah, no, it is Glass Onion, right? Knives Out and Glass Onion. I like those two movies a lot. But I don't think he was right for Star Wars. There was way too much of that, like, and then I like subverted your expectations. Your parents are no one, except they're actually the children of Palpatine, so they are someone, and you're Palpatine's granddaughter, and Snoke died without you ever finding out. This is not a rant. I'm not going on a rant. It's just nonsense. But the only cool part of the Ryan Johnson one was when the scene where she flies the ship at light speed into the other ship. Like, from a visual standpoint, that was really cool. Oh, it was dumb. It was really dumb because what it does is it makes you go like, why don't they just do that all the time? Like, instead of like what is it? I wanted to say proton torpedoes. Instead of proton torpedoes, like, why don't they just like launch X-wings at light speed into things? Yeah, well, it would have made taking out the Death Star pretty easy if you could just take, like, I mean, how many Mon Calamari cruisers blowing up the Death Star? Like, instead, just take one and fly it into light speed into the Death Star. Just. It doesn't even have to be kamikaze, because you can just have a droid do it. And we don't have to get into the argument over whether the droids are living creatures or not in Star Wars. Well, that's the problem when you do that in a movie, is it like ruins the logic of like the rest of the movies. It undermines. Like, oh, why didn't anybody think of this before? We could just crash a ship into another ship and it just blows up at light speed. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't trust AI, you guys. I'm just saying. Roku's Basilisk and all that. My main issue with Obi-Wan, besides it being visually very ugly, is that it absolves Obi-Wan of too much of his guilt. Yeah, maybe. My problem with Obi-Wan is that it's completely unmemorable. I don't remember anything about that show. which is also my problem with Rogue One, is that I'm just like, what? Oh yeah, that was a thing. Dude, other than Andor, because he has his own show, I can't remember like any of the names of the characters in that movie. The main character was Jyn Erso or something. I think I only know this because I've had this conversation with my friends about like how none of the characters are memorable in it. All right, let's see. Let's start mixing a lighter color of this. As the Krennic, I don't know who Krennic is. When you say Krennic, I have literally no idea who you're talking about. And Saw Gerrera is Ghost Dog? Yeah, Forrest Whitaker. If you guys got that reference to Ghost Dog, I'm impressed. It's like, I feel like I'm one of the few people that's seen that movie. One's in chat if you've seen Ghost Dog. How many hours did you take on the jacket print on the clue bust? That thing is impressive. Dude, I don't know. 50 maybe? All right, there's some more Ghost Dog watchers in the chat than I thought. Okay. It's a pretty obscure movie, so. You know what you're doing? You're going to watch Ghost Dog? Heck yeah. It's, yeah. I don't know if I would go so far as to say it was like a great movie, but it was entertaining. Yeah, the title really doesn't make sense. What would I call a great movie? Hot Fuzz is my all-time favorite movie. The Empire Strikes Back is a great movie. Alien is a great movie. The first. And Aliens. The Thing is my second favorite horror movie ever made. Number one being Alien, because I consider it a horror movie sort of above a science fiction movie. Blade Runner, yeah, you got it. Not a huge fan of The Exorcist. It's all right. Oh yeah, Blazing Saddles is great. I mean, I like most of his movies. Not the big like Young Frankenstein's really good. Mel Brooks is hilarious. Um, Not the biggest fan of Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's not the best. Princess Bride, great movie. Terminator 2, great movie. Terminator 1 is okay. Office Space is a great movie. One of my favorite movies ever made actually is Idiocracy. That's another one of my favorite movies. Oh yeah, and it's a little close to home. What other? What other movies do I enjoy? I love Pitch Black. I think Pitch Black is a fantastic movie. The first Matrix is amazing. Yeah. Gladiator is good. It's not one of my favorites, but all right. I'm going to take another break, and then when we come back, I'll keep working on it. But I don't know. Keep coming up with movies. Yeah, that's fair, Gary. That's not an easy watch. Speaking of not an easy watches, if you've another one that was really good, not a movie, miniseries, um, Chernobyl was like amazing, but also very like really difficult to watch. Dude, Riddick wasn't bad. Chronicles of Rick is like bad good, but Riddick is okay. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. What kind of movies you guys got for me, huh? You got some good ones? Apocalypse Now, and not the B movie, followed by Ben-Hur. Okay, a great but never in film for me is Possession. I've never seen it. It was a good movie that was pretty hard to watch. Was Uncut Gems, the Adam Sandler movie. That's a difficult movie to watch. Dude, original Ghostbusters is great. I watched that on a plane recently because they had Ghostbusters Afterlife or Frozen Empire or whatever the heck it's called, and I watched that. And then I saw they had the original Ghostbusters, and I was like, I'm just going to watch this. I like Inception. I think that's a great movie. probably my favorite of his movies. Here's a good one, though the story it's based on is the biggest con of all. I love Catch Me If You Can, but turns out that the actual con was the whole story the guy made up about that, because turns out that was all a lie. Dude, are we talking about Transformers, the original, like, 80s animated movie? Because I listen to that soundtrack every time I go on a road trip with Dave to a convention. Boo-doo-dee-dee-doo-doo-dee. Dare to be stupid. Dare to be stupid. Hot Shot. I'm not a big fan of Hot Shots. The Naked Gun was okay. I think Airplane is probably the best of those movies. Oh, wait, which one? Eyes Wide Shut was me? Or Suspiria? Is that the Suspiria? Wait, isn't that just Rear Window? Is that the one you're talking about? Like the Shia LaBeouf movie based on the Alfred Hitchcock movie? Favorite Tom Cruise movie? The Color of Money. Oh, Disturbia. What is Suspiria? The Green Knight was pretty good. Yeah, it was an interesting watch. The Menu was also pretty good, but I can see how it wouldn't be for everyone. I do like Ray Fiennes. Oh, come on, War Judge. Equilibrium is not a good movie. It's a fun movie, but it's not. It's not good. You mean Fahrenheit 451? That idea behind it? It's Fahrenheit 451 with gun fu. I love Christian Bale. Collateral's good, yeah. Michael Mann. He's a good director. All right, other hot take. Here you go. You guys ready? Uh, who did The Shining? It's what's his name? Like words just names just slip my brain. Uh, what is his name? And Full Metal Jacket and Clockwork Orange and Stanley Kubrick. Thank you. I am not a big Stanley Kubrick fan, and this might make some people crazy, but I don't like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think that movie is boring. Hey, I said it was a hot take, okay? Yeah, because 90% of the movie is boring. This can be, unpopular opinion. I also didn't like Citizen Kane. I understand that it like pioneered certain directorial like like film language, right? I like Moon a lot, actually. I really enjoyed Moon. I understand Citizen Kane like was a big step for like the language of film direction. But man, that movie is also really boring. Now I broke the chat and everyone's typing a film thesis about how Citizen Kane was great. Never seen any Stanley Kubrick movies. I do like The Shining, actually. And parts of Full Metal Jacket are good. The beginning is better than the first half of the movie for me is better than the second half. There's also parts of Clockwork Orange that I like. Favorite Robin Williams movie. Oh. Favorite Robin Williams movie. Is a comedian or is a serious actor? Because Good Will Hunting's pretty good. Comedy, probably the original Aladdin. Favorite 80s, 90s action movie. Favorite 80s. Aliens? Maybe? I consider Aliens an action movie. Predator. I don't know if I would consider Predator an action movie. I would consider Predator a bit more of. It starts as an action movie, but then it becomes more of a horror movie. Oh, if we're going Once Upon a Time in China, like that's like one of the best kung fu movies ever made. Or if you want to go action, the second Drunken Master, not the first one. Jackie Chan's like I mean, I think people generally know this at this point, but like the one Legend of the Drunken Master everyone talks about is actually like the second movie. The first one's not great. Yeah, Terminator 2 is an action movie. It's pretty good. But Once Upon a Time in China, the Fei Fong Wong, Fei Fong Long, which what I can't remember what it is. Or no, that's Once Upon a Time in China, right? Which is the Fist of Legend is the one I'm thinking of. That's the remake of the Bruce Lee movie. One of my other favorite movies ever made is Yojimbo by Akira Kurosawa. If you've never seen it, it's the movie that Fistful of Dollars is based on. And then there's a sequel called Sanjuro, which is what For a Few Dollars More is based on. I also really like Hero. I think is one of like the prettiest movies ever made. Fistful of Dollars. It's a good movie. Welcome to my podcast about movies. Anybody who's watching this on YouTube, where I just name movies that I like. The Goonies. The Goodies. I like the Goodies though. Tombstone. Yeah, Tombstone is pretty good. It has some really good scenes in it. The Doc Holliday parts where he's like twirling the cup and stuff. I am not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of the like stoner comedies. True Grit, the remake was, yeah, pretty good. You guys ever seen Pool Hall Junkies? It has the best monologue, best Christopher Walken monologue in it. It's amazing. Not saying it's a great movie. It's okay. But it's really got a killer Christopher Walken monologue in it. I think that's actually part of her fur. If it's not, it's gonna be. Holy Grail's good. So is Life of Brian. Yeah, I mean, you guys are hitting classics. These are all great movies. It's no Encino Man, but it's okay. Yeah. Actually, The Mummy is great. The Brendan Fraser The Mummy. It's a really good movie. Movie I used to watch all the time as a kid was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. The Kevin Costner Robin Hood. Great movie. All right, let's base coat the lantern. You mean Brian Adams' Everything I Do for You, which is one of my karaoke songs? Yeah. All right. Alan Rickman just plays a great villain, though. the Sheriff of Nottingham. I'm Alan Rickman. No. This is going to be a weird pick, but all right. See if for any of the film buffs out there, do you know the movie Throne of Blood? Oh, I got you guys. All right. Go watch. See, I don't even know if you'll be able to find it anywhere. I'm sure somebody's got the Criterion collection on streaming service somewhere. But Throne of Blood is the Akira Kurosawa samurai telling of Macbeth, which happens to be my favorite Shakespearean play. What's the matter? You guys haven't seen the entire Kurosawa filmography? Psh, thought you guys were movie fans. I can get real film snobby if you want. Shaman, hello. Did I see Macbeth with Fassbender? No, I did not. Should I? Is it a good version? Because I like Macbeth a lot. Oh, you want to talk about a bad movie? We were talking about this the other day. Video game adaptations that they made into movies. Do you guys remember that they made an Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender? It was terrible. Yeah, you all forgot about it because it's awful. Oh, yeah, there's a Prince of Persia movie too, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's also really bad. What do you mean you didn't like the casting on that one? Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't scream Persian to you? The Far Cry movie? Never saw it. Live action. Hey, watch yourself, Brutal Burrito. All right? Careful slandering the Street Fighter movie, okay? Oh, the Doom movie with The Rock was also really bad. Yup, that's a rough one. What was he? It was with The Rock. Doom had The Rock and Carl Urban in it. That's Demolition Man, Roxanne. This guy doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells. I think I need to go slightly darker than that. Take some silver gray. Fifth Element is fantastic. I like Leon the Professional. Or you could just call it The Professional, depending on where you're from. Leon, the Professional. Yeah, they made a Timothy Olyphant Hitman movie also. There's some really bad video game movies, you guys. Like, really bad. Like, we forgot a lot of them since they're so bad. So what are good video game movies then? Well, you could probably name them all on one hand. I actually thought Detective Pikachu was pretty good. If you want to consider that a video game movie. Dude, Viewey Bowls, Dead or Alive. That is... Tron is not a video game movie. It's not a video game movie. It's a movie that has video game themes, but it's not... D&D Honor Among Thieves is not a video game movie. The original Mortal Kombat, pretty good. Not bad. Though Mortal Kombat and was probably the best video game movie until more recently. But Mortal Kombat 2? What was that one? What was the name of the second one? Where they like recast Raiden? Because it was, what's his name, from Highlander in the original, and then they recast him as the guy from Conan the Destroyer. Resident Evil, no, they're all pretty bad. Those are pretty schlocky movies. I can't stand behind those. Blood Rain? No, you haven't seen, which I'm pretty sure is another Uwe Boll movie. You haven't seen Dead or Alive or Tekken, the live action Tekken. Or Postal. The Warcraft movie had good parts. There was also some pretty horrible parts. It did really well in China, by the way. Sonic, I heard, was pretty good. I've never seen it. Oh, here we go. You want a really bad one? Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, starring what's her name from Smallville and the guy from American Pie who played like Charlie. How's that for a deep cut? Uncharted was not. It was pretty bad. Come on. I mean, I've seen worse movies, but it was not great. It was just so generic. Yeah, well, guess who used to work in a DVD store? When we still sold VHS too. Yeah, how about that? Age myself a little bit right there. No, not a Blockbuster, but I worked in a Suncoast. Actually, Need for Speed was not the worst movie I've ever seen. Speaking of Gran Turismo. I don't know. Gran Turismo is one of those weird ones where I don't really count it as it's like it's video game adjacent, but it's not really based on the video game because it's like they're like hiring a guy that played the video game. It's weird. Coffee Garden, thanks for the prime. Hello, welcome. Didn't see Rampage. Couldn't say. I'm guessing it's bad and The Rock plays himself in it. No, Silent Hill was not good. Come on. Come on. I think we're giving a little too much leeway here. Slaps ice cream. Hello, welcome. Thanks for the prime. You guys are pulling some out that, though, I've completely forgotten about. I actually did forget about the Silent Hill movie. And how many Resident Evils did they make? Like 6 of them? Oh, dude, Monster Hunter? How about, did anybody see Monster Hunter? Super Mario, the original, starring John Leguizamo? And what's his name from Blue Velvet is King Koopa? Thanks, Mo. Thanks, Mose, and Slaps Ice Cream for telling me that Monster Hunter was not good. I couldn't have guessed. But I appreciate the confirmation. Yeah, the Tomb Raider that they made with Walton Goggins was pretty good. It was alright. Was Welcome to Raccoon City the one with the animated one? Like the CG one? Yeah, John Leguizamo, star of The Pest. And the remake of Taking of Pelham, whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of it. Angry Birds was okay. Angry Birds was all right. Pirate Pook. I thought Monster Hunter movie was fine. Monsters look cool when they hunted them. Rest was boring. Perfect. We go put that on Letterboxd. I want that review on Letterboxd. It had monsters and they hunted them. Delivered on title. Hi, Jed. Yeah, Need for Speed was just a crappy car racing movie. But it was fine for what it was. Starring Jesse Pinkman. The Sandlot is not a video game movie. What about it? We're on the video game movie net. Come on, guys. Got to pull one out of the hat. Like, I know we've got to be close to hitting them all. But there's one out there that, dude, Ratchet and Clank had a movie? Are you serious? They made a Ratchet and Clank movie? There you go. That's one I did not know. Oh yeah, the Borderlands movie. Why? I like just nobody saw it. They had it on a plane, and I was like, nah. When it's so bad, when it's like you just know it's gonna be so bad that you're not even willing to watch it on an airplane. That's like high tier garbage right there. Yes, people said Tomb Raider. We brought up both the original. Well, what about the animated Dante? I didn't see it. They made an animated Dante's Inferno movie. Doesn't surprise me. I'm actually surprised Sony has not made a God of War movie, to be honest. Since they love making terrible movie adaptations of their video game properties. That one kind of shocks me, honestly. I don't really count the like animated anime movies. That stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh movies, and because like is Yu-Gi-Oh a card game or a video game first? Or is it just a multimedia thing? You know? I counted Detective Pikachu. It was a card game first? Ooh. Which one was the so was it the manga, the anime, the card game, or the video game? All owned by Konami. Oh yeah, Max Payne did have a movie starring what's his name who played Sully? Mark Wahlberg. Wasn't Mark Wahlberg Max Payne? Yu-Gi-Oh! Started as a manga. Boom. Got it. Not a video game movie. Didn't even know they made a Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh yeah, dude. It was a card game. It was a card-based video game. So it was a card game on as like a video game. Yeah, but I remember the anime for Pokemon coming out at like the same time. So they had that in the works, you know? That's like they did make that Tetris movie, but that's Tetris they made that was like a documentary-ish type movie. A docudrama. There you go. Yeah, like what's it called? To go back to what was the name? Star Wars. Shadows of the Empire. Maybe you guys remember this. Was supposed to be like a whole multimedia thing. So like a comic book, a novelization, a video game, and they talked about making a movie. It was like a whole, supposed to be a whole thing. Dude, Double Dragon did have a movie. It was awful. I forgot them. Dang, you guys are hitting some. I feel like you're looking up. Somebody's looking up lists now. All right. Yeah, animes are tough because Street Fighter also had a bunch of animes that were pretty good. So I think we have to limit this to like live action adaptations. Because otherwise, we could name a ton of animated uh, movies or television shows based on video games. You guys ever seen some of those movies based on Overwatch? Pretty good. Fallout was good. Oh, Roxanne, I don't know if you're kidding with me or you're just too innocent to understand the joke I was making. Yeah, the fan films, you know? All right. Don't Google it. But yeah, we got some nice highlights here. Then that lighter color that we used on the fur now works as like a nice shadow color. Yeah, you can. Yeah, the short films. I didn't think many of them were that good. T-Lar. Don't you dare. Don't unless you're just naming it to name it. That's no Master Chief. That's not my Master Chief. The Halo TV series. Patron 82, thanks for the 3 months. Thanks for the Prime. Welcome back. All right. What about Quantum Break? I don't even know what that is. So what is that? All right, I think we've got the point across that we can create separation, right? Through material, we can create material contrast, yeah. The Xbox One launch game. I remember 1 versus 100. That was pretty cool. Where they had like, it was like a quiz game. I won it one time. I have an achievement on my Xbox 360 profile for being the one in 1 versus 100. No, it was like a live trivia game show that they did on Xbox Live for a short while. It was pretty cool. So it was like one person versus the collective intelligence of the audience. All right. Yeah, the X-Bone. Okay, let's see who... I think we're going to call it there tonight. Let's see who we can raid into.
For Brotherhood was the anime got ahead of the books, make shit up. Whoops, we got it wrong. Let's make a new series that does the books way. Yes, that is correct, Steve. Also, how's it going?
I don't know what he's talking about, but he seems to be on a similar conversation to us, so. We're gonna raid Walter. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out.